Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing special honoring our Veterans edition of the podcast. This episode is brought to you by veteran-owned Foster Web Marketing. Foster Web Marketing provides cutting-edge, highly customizable websites, marketing, video, and strategic solutions custom designed for law firms. DSS, our award-winning software suite that powers our website, sets us apart. Please visit our website at Foster Web Marketing if you want to know more about that. But today our guest is Diana Cups, aka Diana the Lawyer. I love saying that. Look at her. She looks like Wonder Woman. She's like Diana the Lawyer. Anyway, I love it. Began her adult life in South Texas as a soldier in the U.S. Army. While in the Army, she served in Germany on bases in the United States and trained as a medical laboratory technician. Upon honorable discharge from the military, Diana attended Central Texas College, earning her associate degree in 2002. Diana holds a nursing degree from the University of Arkansas, where she focused on emergency room nursing for 6 years. You got a lot of certifications. It's all on your website. You can check it out there. You earned your law degree from the University of Tulsa College of Law, where she was an active member of the Health and Medicine Society. You got a whole bunch of stuff that you did there. Hold on. Public Interest Board, Immigration Law Society, the Resources, Energy, and Environmental Law Society, and the Phi Alpha Delta Law Fraternity. You did a lot of things. You were busy.
I did, and I remained that way, and so.
Yeah, man, always been. Okay, that's great. All right, she was also chosen to represent the college in 4 peers at the national trial competition during her second year. Diana was the first student allowed to participate in the Oklahoma Bar Association Family Law Section Trial Advocacy Institute between her second and third years at the College of Law. This privilege was previously reserved for bar-admitted attorneys. Okay. Her strong medical history and depth of experience and knowledge provide a unique advantage in helping with medical malpractice claims and catastrophic injury cases, plus divorce cases and family law. And she brings a multitude of medical, military, leadership, advocacy, negotiation, and customer service skills to her legal profession. Diana is also fluent in Spanish. Wow. Have you always been fluent in Spanish? Where'd you learn that? Oh, okay.
Grew up speaking it, yes.
Oh, okay, good for you. I try to learn. I'm no good at other language. I barely can speak English correctly, but I get by. Okay, so as I said, I love saying it, and Diana the Lawyer, and we're here with your husband, Troy. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about Troy, and we have some things in common. One, all right, so Troy has a bachelor's degree. That's not what we have in common. I'll get to what we have in common. But Troy has a bachelor's degree in finance and a master of business administration degree from Northeastern State University. Troy also attended the University of Arkansas and holds an associate's degree in real estate from Texarkana College. Although Troy worked in the healthcare industry for almost 30 years, serving in leadership roles in finance, contracting, value-based care, and most recently as the president of an Oklahoma accountable care organization. His focus has changed to law office management, working with his lovely wife, Diana, the lawyer. And they're a team, and it proves that, a married couple can work together. How long have you guys been married?
We've been married 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
We spend like 23 hours a day within 20 feet of each other. So it's
That's right. You made it past 7. 7 is that one first hiccup? Anyway, so you made it past that. Okay, so Troy is an Oklahoma licensed private investigator who provides investigative services when needed through his agency, My Private Investigator. Troy, we need a link for that. Troy, I need a link for that if you got one. All right, Troy also has a passion for spreadsheets and uses his skills to manage. God bless you, my man. A passion for spreadsheets. And uses his skills to manage the financial operations of Diana's law practice and financial consulting for other law firms and businesses. Here's what we have in common. He is also an avid mountain biker and enjoys street riding, which I do too. And the big thing is he's a huge Kiss fan, which I am too. So I've never met another Kiss fan on my podcast, that's for sure. I brought one on, but knowing he was a Kiss fan. But And you also dress up, right? You dress up like Gene Simmons.
Yes, I was going to say Fan doesn't quite cover it for Troy.
Right,
He
right.
is.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? But you need to put pictures on the website. You need to put pictures of that. Serious.
So that was actually our fourth date. I had to explain to her that, hey, I'm going to a concert. Would you like to go? And she said, yes.
Every Kiss fan in Oklahoma will drive hours to you simply because you are the biggest Kiss fan. If you add those pictures and you put that to people, I promise you, people are like, you're the big Kiss fan. I want to work with you.
No, but I had to explain to her, and I'm going to dress up. Is that okay?
And he dressed up. He dressed up so well that we had people stopping us for Gene Simmons' autograph.
Well, you dressed up too. So you right? You were like,
I was the groupie.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
It's fun time.
Okay, well, let's get to it. We had a big introduction. Welcome. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on this podcast. This podcast is really to honor veterans like you, Diane. And that's what I want to do here. You know, we as a company want to be able to provide best services for veterans. Like, you already have like a veteran-owned button, but I think that we want to do a page for it, you know, like everything that you did, lay it all out, what you did in the Army, you know, like more detail than you have on your bio page. But you were in the Army, so what did you do? Where did you serve, and for how long?
So I was in the Army, joined in 93, and back then it was called, I believe, 91 Kilo, what they call an MOS, and they've renumbered it now, but what it was a medical laboratory technician. So what I did was learn to draw blood and to work in chemistry, hematology, and run all of those specimens, and I did that for 2 years at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany.
Oh, very good. So were you stationed anywhere else?
Yeah, so when somebody joins the Army, they do basic training. For everybody has to do basic training. So I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, and that was in 93. And then you go to AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, and that's where the MOS comes from, right? The 91 Kilo and whatnot. I did that at Fort Sam Houston in Texas. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Tom, but the forts, Fort Houston, Fort Hood, they've all been renamed.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the new names are of all of them yet. I don't keep up with it anymore. But yeah, so that's what I did. First Fort Hood, then Fort Houston, then 2 years in Germany, and then back to Fort Hood. And I got out in Fort Hood on an honorable discharge in 1997.
Okay. So let me ask this question. What drove you to go into the Army?
Well, so probably the same thing that drives a lot of young kids at that age. I wanted to get out of my parents' house, and my parents did not have any money. We were really poor growing up. I spent about 14 years of my childhood with no running water. And so the military offered what college couldn't, which was not just training that was completely paid for, but also housing, medical insurance, and no dependence on my parents. So yeah, that's why I joined.
So you grew up tough. Like,
I did.
Growing up, that's tough, man. Yeah. Like, Troy, how about you? Was that your experience growing up too, or did you have it much better?
I had it much better. That was not my experience. And I was actually born and raised here in Tulsa for the most part, and in a small town in Arkansas. And although I did try to go down the Air Force route, my eyes held me back. So I went a different direction. But I greatly appreciate Diana's service as well as your service.
Okay.
Definitely honor the military. The red shirts we have on, we wear red on Fridays. I can't tell which color it's on. It says red. Remember everyone. Remember everyone deployed. It's we don't just have it posted on the website. We're serious about it. And of course, our reflections we did today were all about military quotes. So anyway.
Well done. Well, that's a great idea, is to do that. Like, how do you, well, we can talk more about that, but I'm super interested in how you get the word out about that, like in your community and whatnot. Like, hey, what do you do? Because we are looking, Buster and I, are looking at, well, what more can we do? Like what, it's one thing to get people in this, and you've seen the email, like, please join our, are you a veteran? I already know that you guys are. But then what can we do as a group of veterans? Like what, like kind of charity should we give to, or what should we participate in? Like, I want to know what you guys are doing. So like how can we help you, right? What can we do to help this event? Anyway, so that's part of what I want you to think about in as we develop this program.
Well, the things that are available here in Tulsa, there is one lawyer that's known to help military people, and so networking with that group. His name is Scott Good, and he's at Military Law Group. That's the name of his firm, and so he's done a really good job. Yeah, he's done a really good job.
That's smart. It's brilliant.
Yeah, getting known for that. And
we could do something similar to that, or whatever.
And we can link to the Tulsa County Bar Association's Military Veterans Group, because they do have one section. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to remember all this stuff. Like, this is a coaching call too at the same time as the podcast, right? Okay, so my next question, you got a lot to go. What made you go to law school and pursue a legal career after serving in the military? After being a nurse, why not going to nursing?
Well, I did actually go into nursing after being in the Army. The timeline was actually that I got honorably discharged, like I said, in 97. Then I went and used the GI Bill to get my first 2 degrees. So in 02, my associate's degree, and 07, my nursing degree. And then I practiced as an ER nurse, first in Arkansas, then in Texas, and then finally in Oklahoma. And I did travel nursing contracts for a number of years.
That's what we said, yeah.
Right. And so actually, that's very hard on a family. And so travel nursing contracts require 12-hour shifts. And by the time you put in the drive time, the get ready time, and the report time overlapping for those shifts, they're really 14-hour shifts. And sometimes I'd have an hour drive. So there's no family time. And those contracts are 13 weeks long usually. And so by the time I had been doing that for several years, my marriage was over. And that divorce is actually what led me to go to law school. So that's how the timeline happened there.
Right. So you mind talking a little bit about that? Like, as much as you care to share about that drove you to go to law school? Like, why did that drive you to go to law school?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind sharing it all. It's pretty far in the past. And I'll say the trauma that I went throughout that situation really does inform the way that I practice law now. So I went through about 6 lawyers before I found one that listened to me and that represented me in a divorce versus that had their own ideas about how to do things, that didn't return calls and that kind of thing. So actually his name was Shane Henry, and he's somebody that Troy introduced me to. And Troy actually tells a story about how I decided to go to law school. So yeah, I will share that. So Shane was a friend of mine. He was her representative for probably a year and a half. And somewhere in there, they were going to a trial, and Shane has a method of what he calls chapters, which Diana has adopted and improved for her practice. But anyway, he said, okay, here's the deal. You can pay me $5,000 for this, or you can pay me $15,000. $15,000 is if I'm doing this work. $5,000, you go take and do this, bring it back to me, and then I'll take it from there. Obviously, Diana said, okay, I'm gonna take the $5,000 because I don't have $5,000, much less $15,000.
Right, I don't have $15,000. I can barely do $5,000. Right?
And so she basically did the work, and Shane did training with other lawyers on this method of going to trial. And so she brought the stuff to him, and it was exactly lined out the way he wanted it, in great detail, very organized. And anyway, we were actually at the courthouse. Well, anyway, he said, this is better than what other attorneys do. So you did fantastic. So she saved herself a lot of money. But we were at the courthouse, and Shane was putting his stuff in the bag. I remember we were on the first floor, and if you knew the Tulsa County Courthouse, we were on the first floor at the bench by the shoe shine place, and Shane was putting stuff in his bag, and he looked up at Diana. He goes, Diana, you do so good at this. You should go to law school. And I'm telling you, she's like, I swear her face is like, I think I will.
Were you still doing the nursing stuff?
No, I am so busy. I mean,
I meant, did you quit doing the nursing stuff before you were talking to Shane and he said go to law school?
Yes. So I stopped doing the nursing stuff and I married Troy in 2016. So I was able to not work. And when I did that, what he's talking about, when I looked up and said, I think I'll go to law school, at that time, I was able to go back to school and get a bachelor's degree because I didn't have a bachelor's degree yet. And I took a bachelor's degree only for going to law school. And so I started that in 2016 and didn't look back, and I graduated in 2020 from law school.
Wow.
But yeah, she came home that day, made a list. She still has the book, made a list in this little book of, I've got to do these 20 things. And over the course of 4 years or 3 years, she checked those off. And anyway, so which just goes back.
You're a very driven person. You're a very driven individual, right? Once you set your mind to something. Yeah. I have a question going back to Shane as the lawyer.
Shane Henry. Mm-hmm.
So how much direction did Shane give you when he said, here, you work on this part of it? How much direction did you get? Or were you able to just like run with it yourself and do it the way you wanted, or what?
So he explained to me the kinds of things that he needed me to gather, and the chapter method is actually something that Troy touched on. It's actually, he designed himself a notebook, and he got it bound for his purposes, and it actually it divides the page. So on one side, you have questions that aim towards a topic that's at the top, and then on the right side, you list where you find it in your big collection of evidence, so that what you use those chapters for is literally to put people on the stand and either to direct examine them or cross-examine them. And so the amount of direction he gave me was the same as someone who's a lawyer who's already been through law school and is practicing law. And at the point he gave me the instruction, I hadn't considered law school yet.
Sure. That's why I'm fascinated by this. That's like, you didn't look at it like you were doing, lawyer work. You just were, answering these questions and going through this process. It's very impressive, Diana. Good for you, man. I mean, like, seriously, you are truly entrepreneur. Well, you both are. Thank you. You are one of us, and it's great that you're so driven. I'm going to get to this, I hope. Yeah, but let's keep going down this path, but I don't want to forget to ask you a certain question. Okay, so how did your military experience help you prepare for law school and working as a full-time civilian lawyer?
Mostly discipline to do what needs to be done. No excuses. Suck it up and all that. I think I think it takes a thick skin and a very cold logic to do what I do. To do it well, to still get sleep at night, peace at home, clients that love me, and still have money in the bank, and employees that, count on me. So
she's a good leader, for sure.
Hey, I want to go back real quick. Let's do real quick from when you first went into Army and went into boot camp. Considering your childhood, were you like, this is hard, like most of us, or were you like, this is awesome? Like you're bad, right? You're like,
this is awesome. This is awesome. Best experience of my life. Let me tell you something else about basic training. I had never run 2 miles in my life before I showed up at basic training, and I still kicked its ass.
Right. That's great. And I had a similar experience when I went into boot camp. I went to Parris Island, and I was like I was trash before I went. I was skinny. I was a mess. I was on all kinds of drugs. I was just a mess. Barely graduated. I thought I was going to jail, so I ran and joined the Marines for 6 years, and that was that, and ran off and did that. And it was, I'm with you, it was the best thing ever. I love boot camp. Being in the FMF, I had my ups and downs there, but boot camp, I thought it was hilarious, and I got in the best shape of my life.
Still some of the best memories of my life.
100%, 100%. Yeah. Great stuff, man. All right, so what were some of the biggest challenges you faced transitioning from military to civilian life and the legal profession? You face any challenges?
I don't think that true soldiers ever really transition. I think it's just something we tell ourselves in order to feel like we fit in again. And I think that looks different for everybody. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing, but it can be. So for example, for me, it's been 30 years since I've been at basic training, and I still can't walk on grass without hearing my drill sergeant's voice say, "Get off my grass, soldier." And it's not necessarily a bad thing, like I'm saying, but
Right.
yeah, I'm affected by that. You know, in my personal life, I wonder why other people don't get the chain of command and why other people don't dress everything. So yeah, it affects me. It affects my thinking.
That reminds me of a quick story. When I was, I had a drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Williams, was the scariest man alive. And he scared me to no end. He was like my nemesis. And I barely graduated because of that man. And years later, I was driving down the road at Camp Lejeune, and I see him running in his red PT clothes, the giant man running down. I jumped down under the car so he wouldn't see me. Then I popped out. I was like, what am I doing? But it's just like, that was my reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. I met him later on in life. It wasn't bad, but he couldn't believe that I was still in. All right. So you already said that you use the GI Bill. So you use that for going to regular school and nursing school. So how would you, any kind of, I guess you've already kind of answered this question, which is, how would you compare the teamwork, discipline, and leadership skills fostered in the military versus those fostered in the legal profession?
I actually have a weird observation about this topic, actually.
Yeah.
So first, to answer your question, I believe that there is not an experience that I have had or probably will ever have that will top the camaraderie and all of that I experienced at basic training. But now, here's the weird and unexpected, maybe, observation. Lawyers are nicer and better to work with than nurses. There, I said it. Okay. Unpopular opinion number one. But because I've been very intimately involved in both now, I can tell you, unqualified, nurses eat their young. It's not a camaraderie. It's not fun, and I excelled at it. I'm not saying that I didn't, and I'm not saying there aren't things about it that I enjoyed, but that's more having to do with my personality than what's really there. Lawyers have, especially female lawyers, we have a group on Facebook, and we get to vent to each other all the things, and we support each other. And yeah, even male lawyers. We have a group called Lawyers Helping Lawyers here in Tulsa. Actually, it's in this whole state. Oklahoma City has one too, and they meet once a month. So we can talk about the things like, you know, the suicide rates and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, I find lawyers to be very supportive of each other.
Well, I would agree with you. Having, worked with lawyers for, over 20 years now, I agree with you that, there's some jerks, but that's everywhere, no matter what.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But for the most part, I agree with you. Like, they're very, once you earn their trust, they're very giving and open and helpful. That's what the other thing is, that they're very helpful to other lawyers, even if they're competitors in many cases.
Right.
Okay. We already talked about what areas of law you specialize in. You do family law, divorce, child custody, MedMal, and that's because of your past experience as a nurse, right? That's that very interesting kind of niche that we're doing. And so, lawyers, PI lawyers, if you're in Oklahoma or you need a good lawyer doing MedMal, you don't want to do the MedMal, you can't afford to do the MedMal, Diana will do it for you. So please contact her and let her know about your case. Because she knows how to do it, and you don't, you know it, and you want to make more money than lose money. You'll lose money if you do it yourself and you don't know what you're doing. Right? That's just a fact. That's a fact of MedMal. All right. What advice would you give other veterans considering law school and pursuing this career path?
Do it. Do it, man. Suck it up, Buttercup.
I love this, man. See, like, I think you're number 2 of my veterans interviews, and like, this is fantastic. Like, this, I thought the first one was good, but this one is really good. You're awesome.
Be all you can be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here you go. What are some of the pitfalls to stay away from?
Well,
like a new lawyer coming on, or like a veteran lawyer, or a veteran becoming a lawyer, then, like, what is your advice? Or some of the pitfalls?
Yeah. So number one for me would be, and will always be, avoid the inclination to fit in. There's nothing good about fitting in. Never mind what the other lawyers are doing, right? Start an assessment internally rather than externally, right? And then see if the solution fits the problem. I hate those marketing things that say, you've been chosen to be featured in our listing, and then they end with give us money, for the use of our logo. And the logo is named something ridiculous or misleading to the public, like Top 30 Under 30 or Ridiculous Verdicts Club. I hate those things. So that's the pitfalls I would avoid.
100%. That's really good advice. And it's so true. Like a lot of people, they're chasing money. They just see these PI, especially PI lawyers, making all this money, and they're like, I can do that. And I had a conversation with one of my clients about that. He looks to grow, but he's in a very specialized niche, right? And it's like, okay, well, if you want to grow like that, like going down that road, that's not your style at all. And
right.
And once you kind of recognize that, okay, that's not really, other lawyers are really good at that stuff, right? But if you're not, you should not do it. But that's very good advice. Okay, how do you think your military background gives you an advantage or unique perspective as a lawyer compared to non-veterans?
Well, I think it makes me well suited for combat, i.e. trial. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a seasoned trial lawyer. I'm not even a seasoned lawyer at this point. But I like the things that trial is made up of. So I like logic. I like evidence. I like putting people on the spot. I like catching people in their BS, right? And at the end of the trial, I can still go out with the opposing counsel and have a drink, right? No hard feelings. And a lot of people who have not experienced military kind of don't get that, right? In the military, you're like hand-to-hand combat. Okay, great. Now carry your buddy over the line. Same guy, right? And so I think that makes me well suited where some non-military people can't do that.
Plus, God, everybody look, look, her energy is so, like, you are not burned out. Like a lot of, like they can be like, we're experienced. We've been doing it for 30 years or whatever. They're totally burned out.
Right.
And those are the types of lawyers that they're like, I've been doing this. I've done a million cases, whatever. You don't tell me what to do. I'll do it. I do what I want.
Right.
I know what to do. And that's like the 5 lawyers that you talk to before you finally settle on the 6th lawyer.
Right. And here's the
I'm
other
not saying
thing.
they're all bad, but in many cases, it's, you got to pick your poison, or you got to pick, who you're going to work with. Yeah. And nobody like wakes up in the morning and says, I can't wait to talk to a lawyer today. I can't wait to do
right. Exactly. Well, here's the thing too, is I don't feel like I have it figured out, and I'm sure I'm never going to feel like I have it all figured out. And that spirit right there, it's alive and well every day here in my office. And sometimes it drives my people crazy because I say, yes, I know I said the rule was that yesterday, but I found a better way today because X, Y, Z. And I explain things that way. I do.
I can relate. I drive my people crazy nuts too. That's why but that's what we do. That's what we do as entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
That's how it goes. They love it and they hate it at the same time. They love it. You have the energy, and they're like, wow, I love how everything's different. I just don't like having to do everything different all the time, right? Like I don't like having to switch gears and priorities.
But I always ask input as well.
What's that?
I always ask input as well. So when I present an idea, I say, what do you think about it? Yes, I make the decision ultimately, but I want to hear what people who are doing the task every day are feeling, seeing, experiencing, and take that into account. Right.
So you already talked about a couple of them, but were there any other mentorship programs or veteran legal associations that help support you in law school or starting your career or working right now?
Yeah, there is still a close-knit small group of military people, both from my class and that continue there at TU Law. And TU Law does a fantastic job of keeping that spirit alive. They invite me back every year in November for Veterans Day, and I go to most of them, and I reach out and encourage the students.
What is that called?
It is I think it's Military and Veterans Association. I'll have to get the name.
Okay, yeah, give me that information. That's a good place to check out.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a couple more questions here. So what is your biggest mistake when it comes to marketing and the business of your law firm? I'm sure you got one.
Okay, yeah. So I can't say that, at least as far as marketing, that we've made a big, huge mistake. I mean, if you asked me this question a year ago, I would have easily said that my lead matching service, I was not happy with. But when we made, I mean, you know, I had it out with them and I made some changes to the settings, and I can say honestly that that has paid for itself over and over again. But the other reason we didn't make a big mistake is because I read John Fisher's Power of a System at the beginning of when I decided to make a law firm. And one of the first things they said is go with Foster Web Marketing, period. And I did, and I have not regretted that.
Well, that's very, thank you so much for that. And thank you so much to John Fisher for putting us in his book. He was a client for many, many years, a MedMal client. And I think he was our first MedMal client. And John was one of my first clients. And I remember I met him when he flew into DC or Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia, right there at National Airport. And we were doing we were doing green screen videos, and I didn't have a studio at the time. So we had to like rent out these it was either hotel rooms or a conference room, but sometimes they didn't have a conference room. Mm-hmm. And we would have to do it in hotel rooms. So like people would see us like coming in the hotel rooms with all this camera gear and stuff like that and be like, what are you guys doing? Like, I mean, we're just doing lawyer porn. Don't worry about it. So that was before he's like, and I'm sure some of those videos are still out here of young John Fisher. He's a great guy. But I'm so happy that you become a client of ours. All right, so what is the best thing you did from a marketing perspective? I think you answered that question too, that had the most significant impact.
Yeah, okay. I think that working with you guys, and I can't tell you how many compliments I get for the design of my website and for how clean it is and how it's not overly busy and all that stuff. I get compliments all the time. The color scheme, all of it, and clients love it.
Thank you. So that's a great, compliment to our design team, and we're coaching and working together. And that's always a work in progress. Your website is always a work in progress. Your online marketing is always a work in progress. You're fighting Google because Google's changing all the time. So what worked yesterday isn't going to work tomorrow. So you have to constantly be on the curve with that. And it is what it is. And it's kind of like the law changing almost every day, or very similar to you're used to it because you kind of do it to yourself. Like, we're going to reprioritize what we're doing. So anyway, just have that same view on the website and what you got to do online. Well, guys, thank you so much. You are an inspiration, and I appreciate your years of service. And Troy, I appreciate you, man. You and I will be working together. Probably more than I will see Diana, because she will be busy being a lawyer out there, which is great. But I appreciate so much your time and your energy and your entrepreneurism. It's just fantastic. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We're very honored to have been featured, and thank you for your service as well. And we hope the relationship continues to flourish and bring us both profitable businesses. So
yeah, definitely.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. This has been Tom Foster and Diana and Troy Cups. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, guys, and we will see you next time on the World of Marketing podcast. You guys stay here.
Thanks, Tom.